It's time for Money for Lunch, where we feed your brain and your business with supersized portions of business and financial news. Now your host, Bert Martinez.
My next guest, Barry Fowler. He's the president and founder of Taxation Solutions. He's an enrolled agent licensed to represent taxpayers before the Internal Revenue Service and is a long-standing member of several tax industry professional organizations, including the National Association of Enrolled Agents and the American Society of Tax Problem Solvers, just to name a few. With experience in the tax and finance industry spanning over 25 years, Fowler's expertise includes tax resolution, financial planning, tax return preparation, financial statements, general ledger bookkeeping, and he's been the instrument in helping hundreds of people resolve tax problems, complicated tax problems and issues with the IRS. Barry Fowler, welcome to Money for Lunch.
Thank you, Bert. Glad to be here.
All right, so let's dive into this. Here you are. You're listed as an enrolled agent. First of all, explain to me, what is that?
That's what most people ask. Enrolled agents are basically America's premier tax experts. We're the only federally licensed tax practitioner who specializes in taxation. We also have unlimited rights to represent taxpayers before the IRS.
So that's different than an attorney. You just specialize in this one little area of representing taxpayers in front of the IRS.
That's correct. Unlike attorneys or CPAs who get licensed by their particular state, and many of those choose whether they're going to specialize in tax or they just may add taxes as one of the things. Enrolled agents, we specialize in taxation. That's pretty much all we do.
And you're also certified or whatever. You're unlike an attorney or CPA that's, like you said, they're licensed by the state. You're licensed or qualified or whatever it's called by the government, by the IRS itself,
yeah.
Right?
Yeah, we're licensed by the U.S. Department of Treasury. We actually have to go through their competency tests and make sure that we know pretty much everything about tax law so that we can represent them and, follow the guidelines of representation and ethics so that we can maintain our rights.
I love it. Okay, let me ask you this. Here you are. You've been in tax business for over 25 years. How has the industry changed, and how have you kept with the new tax laws?
Well, we, as enrolled agents, as well as the CPAs and stuff, we've got to maintain our continuing education. So we're always getting updated on what's happening in the new tax laws. Our associations are really good about helping us gather that information so that we can use it. But the toughest challenges are, the tax laws sometimes don't change until the end of the year. So we've got to get quick updates. We're always reading, always checking out what's happening with the IRS and the Internal Revenue manuals so we know what's happening. The biggest change coming is going to be the Affordable Care Act, or as most people know, Obamacare.
Right.
And that's going to be the biggest change coming up.
Yeah, let me get your take on this. You've been doing this for 25 years. When you're dealing with the IRS, do you find that it really depends on the agent you're dealing with as far as how easy a problem is to get resolved?
Yeah, sometimes it does vary based on agent. It depends on what we're looking for to solve the problem. If we're looking for just putting them into an installment agreement that works for them, yeah, a lot of times it depends on the agent and how well they work with us. If we're looking to settle somebody's tax debt for less than the amount they owe, then it's basically going to come down to the numbers. What can they afford versus what do they owe, and how do we support it so the agent doesn't become as significant in that as it does when we're just trying to do something like get them to pay and put an installment agreement together.
Gotcha. And the reason I brought this up is because sometimes consumers think that the IRS are a bunch of vultures out there just to get all of us. And it really is I think for the most part, depending on how you behave and the agent that you grab, sets the tone for everything.
They do set the tone for a lot of it. I think a lot of times you get agents on the phone that you're dealing with that think you're lying, cheating, stealing, and it's their money. And I've got to have it, whatever it takes, I'm going to get it from you. It's like squeezing blood from a turnip. Doesn't happen, does it?
Yeah. You know what? And it's funny you should say it like that because it's dealing with any kind of enforcement government department. I think that's their point of view. If you're dealing with cops, they all think you're lying, stealing, and cheating. IRS, the same thing. It's just yeah. And the reason for that, I think, is probably because so many consumers do try to lie, steal, and cheat.
Yeah, I'm sure they do. I mean, we hear all the stories of, hey, so-and-so called the IRS and they won't work with them. And then you get the agent or the revenue officer that they happen to be dealing with, and they've heard 5 different stories, all different than what we even heard from the taxpayer. And so we've got to, find our ways through it to help everybody that we can. It's a different world out there because, everybody thinks they filed their tax return, but most of the people that are in trouble maybe haven't filed for 5 years or just haven't bothered to pay.
Yeah, I could see that. All right, so besides babysitting your clients, what does your company, Taxation Solutions, do? Walk me through this.
Well, we're a nationwide company, and basically we provide financial services for taxpayers, and one of those is providing assistance in dealing with, of course, the IRS and their tax issues. Generally, what we find is a lot of independent contractors either, one, haven't filed tax returns for many years, and they're just now the IRS is catching up with them. Or 2, they owe the IRS a lot of money, and the IRS has been hounding them, but they've been able to avoid them. But now the IRS is all over them to get their money. And what we do from there is basically if a potential client calls in, we evaluate their position. We won't take everybody. There are just some people that, one, definitely aren't going to do anything with their problem no matter whether they hire us or not, or 2, aren't going to qualify for any of the programs the IRS has. And we give them advice that, hey, look, it's just easier and cheaper for you to pick up the phone and call the IRS and get an easy payment plan with them. It's not worth us taking your money to do that for you, and we can tell you how to do it. But most of our clients haven't filed tax returns. Latest ones here these days hadn't filed 4 or 5 years. Had one that hadn't filed for 10 years, and we go and complete those tax returns, get them filed. If they owe money, then we'll either set up a installment agreement for them, or if they owe money and can't afford to pay it, then we go and do what they call as an offer in compromise, where we'll settle. I hate to use the term because everybody says it on the commercials, and it's like settle for pennies on the dollar. Well, there are some people we can do that for, but not everybody qualifies. So we're kind of exclusive who we take.
And it sounds amazing that somebody could go 10 years without filing their taxes, but at the same time, it's pretty easy to do, isn't it? I mean, time flies. I personally have gone 2 or 3 years without filing my taxes. I had moved, sold a business. I was just busy, blah, 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 excuse. 3 years later, I still had not filed my taxes. It goes by that quick. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and then a lot of times they go, okay, they got a year or 2 behind, and then I can't find the information, so I'm afraid to file, and then the next 3 years go by, and I'm still afraid to file, and now they're caught up with me, and I don't have a choice, so they call us, and that's where we come in, and we'll take care of you.
Now, with your experience and with all the customers you've helped, do you find that fear is probably the biggest thing that stops people from filing their taxes?
Fear plays a big part in it. A fear of not necessarily just filing them, a fear of what I owe.
Right.
They may have had one really big year where they did good business, sold a business, or did something like that, and they just didn't get around to filing, or they got their tax return ready and they owed $20,000 or $30,000 or something like that, and they go, oh God, if I don't file this, then they don't know. So then they, after that one's not done, they fear putting the next one in. So yeah, it does play into that, and some of it's just, I don't have the money to pay them, so why file?
Yeah. Excellent. Listen, Barry, thank you so much for stopping by. We're out of time. Love to have you come back during tax season and talk about some of the stuff that you're doing there at taxationsolutions.net, and maybe you can come back and we'll talk about some of your some of the results you've achieved as well.
That sounds great. We'd love to come back. Really appreciate you having fun.
Thank you. Guys, if you have problems or questions regarding the IRS, check out Barry Fowler, taxationsolutions.net.
Tune in Monday through Friday here on Money for Lunch, and check out our website at moneyforlunch.com.